we got my guest, Harvey Williams, first round draft pick by the Chiefs in 1991. Played 8 years in the NFL with the Chiefs and the Raiders. Thanks for coming on my show, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I'm a Raider. I ain't a Kansas City Chief, so
So you associate with
I'm
the
a Raider.
Raiders.
Yeah, I hate the Chiefs. So when people say, you play for Kansas City, I'm like, that was like a blip in my career. So,
you got drafted by the Chiefs, but you associate with the Raiders.
yeah, those 3 years I was there was probably one of the most horrible things that I've ever experienced. So I
Wow.
try to forget about that nightmare. So, my 5 years that was with the Raiders was very impressive, important to me. So I'm a Raider. You cut me off.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Gotcha.
All right, let's talk about growing up in Hempstead.
Mhm.
Hempstead is a small town. Did you know at an early age that you were going to play football? Like that was going to be your identity?
Bro, at 7, I knew, at 5, I knew I wanted to play football for the rest of my life. It consumed me. I watched it all the time. And, being from Hempstead, I don't know if you ever been to Hempstead.
No.
I'm not going to say it's a bad place, but it's a place that you don't want to spend the rest of your life there. And, at a young age, I knew that, I didn't want to be here for the rest of my life. So I think that's the reason that I played the way I did at Hempstead High. So I was running from something to get out of Hempstead. So, yeah.
Did you have any like influences in your life, like family that said, hey, Harvey, you're pretty good. Maybe you should pursue this?
My dad. My dad was a hustler. He was a gambler. He never had a job or anything like that. So, but my dad was very positive. And, my mother, she was there too, but no, they ended up getting a divorce. And, my dad used to always say, you can be whatever you want to be. And I said, I want to play football. He said, well, play football. And that's exactly what I did.
You were pretty good in high school, right?
Yeah. I was the number 1 running back in the country coming out from little Hempstead, Texas. The running
That's
back,
crazy,
number
man.
1 running back in the country coming out. So, yeah, man. It was
5,800 yards, 70 touchdowns. 70 touchdowns, man. That's almost 20 a season.
Yeah.
That's
Pretty
that's
impressive.
more than one a game.
Yeah.
Like, did you feel like that much better than everybody you went up against, whether in practice or who you played in other teams?
Yeah, because, at a young age, Tony, like when I was playing at Little League football, because, like I said, my parents went through a divorce. So we left Houston to move to California for my parents to try to make their marriage work. There was another guy involved, and my dad wanted to save our family. So we ended up moving out to California. So I ended up becoming a running back out in California. And I went from, being a center for the first 2 weeks, when we first started to, starting in the backfield. And I was, running the rock up in San Diego, California, all over everybody. Then, we ended up moving back here to Hempstead. And me and my brother, we were so much more advanced than all the other kids because we played Little League football.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really think about it, most people here don't start playing football until they get to middle school. We had been playing, since we were 6 and 7 years old. So we were way more advanced and more experienced than all the kids, that we're playing against. So, yeah, I feel like a man amongst boys when I came back to Texas. Plus, Hempstead is a watermelon town. So in the summertime, all we used to do lift hay and, throw watermelon. So, I'm bigger, stronger, faster than all the kids that I'm playing against. So, yeah, it was no contest.
So part of it is just genetics, and 2, you're just working hard.
Yeah. All of us got big asses, big legs, and pretty big people. So, yeah, 9 times out of 10, we're going to be a lot bigger than.
How big were you in high school?
Well, my senior year, I was 210, 6'3". But when my freshman year, I was like 5'10", like 180, 190.
Even then, man, 5'10", 180 as a freshman. That's
it's a big guy. My dad's 6'8", like 305, and I got another brother that's 6'8", 6'9", and I got sisters that are 6 feet, 6'1", and I'm like the smallest in the family. So, we had a guy named Coach Kinney, Robert Kinney, that and Coach Gillard, my high school coaches. Well, my junior high coach and my high school coach were the reasons that, as a lot of us made it out of Hempstead. My senior class, we had 10 guys from that little school that got Division I scholarships. So he was, like I said, he played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. And
the coach?
Yeah. And by the grace of God, bro, it was just, at the right time. And he had just became a head coach at Hempstead High. And he knew how tough it was. But before we got there, most kids wasn't given scholarships because the coach was bullshit. Didn't care. The coaches
Yeah.
before him didn't care. And most of those kids that were before me, man, end up not doing anything. Very talented. Just I'm not gonna say just as talented as I was,
Yeah.
but never made it out of Hempstead, man. And that's a tragic. It really is. So, by the grace of God, we had a guy named Coach Kinney come in and started sending out, manuscripts and videos and different things like that. I'm talking back in 1984, 1983.
So you think with his, NFL background and him instilling that in you, that's what got you the opportunity to pursue it further?
Yeah, along with me running, for 70 touchdowns and
Yeah,
almost
yeah,
6,000
sure.
yards. Yeah, man, it goes hand in hand.
Would any of those stats have not happened had it not been for him?
I don't think so.
Is it because he knew how to utilize you?
Well, he knew how to utilize me, but the thing as far as putting the word out, because before I got there was a guy that by the name of Johnny Holland that played for the Green Bay Packers. He was a senior, I was a freshman, and we played together. So most schools were coming to recruit him, and then they end up, who the hell is that freshman right there? And that's how it began. But he's putting the word out there and saying, we got this great running back, and then the word is getting around. Then next thing I know, Channel 2, Channel 13, ABC, NBC, CBS is showing up at my high school football games my sophomore year and my junior year.
Wow.
And you're talking about a little country town of a population of, I think, like 2,500 people, and you got these major networks coming to see you play football. That's a pretty special thing.
Yeah,
it really is. Yeah.
So when it was time to make the jump from high school to college, it was either A&M or LSU, right?
Correct.
And you ultimately picked LSU. What was that final decision like? Or maybe even what was the recruitment process like? I mean, you're 17, 18-year-old kid trying to make it to the next step.
Right.
What's that like to be like, wow, I'm going?
Man, it got to the part my junior year that I couldn't even go home because I had all these 20 or 30 coaches sitting in my driveway
at home
when I would come home from school. Then it started my junior year.
Wow.
And they had all these college coaches trying to get me to come to their campus and want to talk, which was pretty illegal because they couldn't do it. They had to come to the high school. But they got to the point where they didn't give a shit anymore. They didn't care anymore.
Yeah.
So they started coming to the house. So it got so bad I couldn't even come home after school. I would have to go hang out at my girlfriend's house or anything. So I ended up leaving my dad's house, moving in with my auntie my senior year, and it really got worse. And it was just hectic, man. The things that you see now when the kids are getting ready to go to college and they sitting there signing day and all. I did that shit back in 1985, and it was everybody thought I was going to Texas A&M, and I was going to Texas A&M. Jackie Sherrill messed around, and it was a white kid named Lance Pavlis from Tomball, Texas. He was trying to get to recruit to go to Texas A&M, and by him not being there, I'm saying, oh, okay. So you think I'm a shoe-in, and Lance is good, but Lance is not as good as I am, and you chose to be at Lance's, his signing day. So I said, I don't know where I'm going. So this was, I think it was on a Monday or Tuesday. And I said, I'm going to make my decision Friday. So I made my decision then that I was going to go probably to LSU.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many other schools were recruiting you that you know of?
Everybody. Everybody. Every major school in the country. USC, UCLA, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Northwestern, Arizona State. I mean, I can go every major, Florida State.
Full rides to everyone.
Rides.
Wow. Well, yeah. I mean, I think 70 touchdowns would do that to you. Huh?
Yeah. And, and by me living, Eric Dickerson right down the street in Sealy, Texas, that's who I was chasing. That's who I wanted to be. That was the mark right there. ED, we really good friends right now. But, man, when I first saw him, I think I was in elementary school, bro, and saw him. I said, that's what I want to be.
Wow.
And if you look at our running styles, I'm a mix between him and Marcus Allen. So, those are my two idols. But ED, I think, was the goal, that bar that I wanted to set.
So when you get to LSU, you had Coach, was it Mike
Arnsparger. He recruited me.
When was Archer there?
Archer left, he was already there. Bill went to be the athletic director at Florida.
Okay.
And Mike Archer came, he's the defensive coordinator, so he was the next man up. And they didn't even want to hire him. And, he came and said, man, this is what I need you to do. Get on the media, the networks and, say we need to keep it in-house. And And you know, as a young kid, I'm like, yeah, you cool, but you ain't that cool. And
because he didn't recruit you.
No, he didn't recruit, but he's probably the biggest asshole that I can remember, man. I mean, we had so much talent. That team that we had when Bill left was Bill's team. And if Bill Arnsparger don't leave, I win the Heisman Trophy, hands down.
Wow.
Yeah. I win the Heisman Trophy, hands down. I win the Heisman Trophy because he was giving me the rock. And Mike Archer didn't have a clue. You know, when you got a talent, the coaches got to know how to put that scheme together. Same thing we were sitting here talking to John earlier before we started, man. You know, as coaches and teachers, we got to know how to put our kids in the right position. And then he didn't know how to recruit either, because he started recruiting totally different kids than what Bill was doing. And you know, you just giving kids scholarships because you know they daddies and their mamas, and you know, you don't have an eye for talent. And then you know, we go from losing one game in one season to, you know, next year we 9-3, and we should have never been beaten.
Did you guys have a national championship caliber team?
That 87 team and the 86 team, yes. We should have won that championship. 86 and 87. We end up losing to Alabama in Baton Rouge on a fluke play, and then we end up tying with Ohio State in 87 that year. And, you know, that I think we was number 3 or number 4 in the country at that time. Well, we should have never been beaten, though.
What would you say was the most hostile stadium to play in college?
Ooh.
The Swamp?
Florida?
Yeah?
Yeah, Florida. Yeah, that's, you know, they get doing that. You sitting there and you know, you playing in front of 80, 90,000 people, man, all that orange and blue. And, yeah, I'd say that, and probably Ole Miss.
Ole Miss?
Ole Miss is a rough one. Tennessee. Georgia.
All the big SEC schools, man.
Georgia. Yeah, playing between them hedges, man. It's an experience, man. I think everybody could get a chance to experience that. I think all human beings should get a chance to experience that. So, along with that, and, you know, going back when I was in Kansas City, you know, going back to play in Kansas City is pretty rough too, also.
So you go from playing in a small town like Hempstead to go playing in these 80, 90,000 people stadiums. Like, is that moment like too real to take in, or do you just play football and it doesn't matter who's there?
You know, I think with me, I had already seen it as a kid. You know, you play in your front yard and you scoring touchdowns, you looking around and you see the stadium. I programmed myself to see that. So the first time, my first football game at LSU was against Texas A&M, the school that everybody thought I was going to. It just happened to be, and it's on ESPN, and the whole country is prime time. Everybody is watching the game. Yeah. Everybody is watching that game. So I remember, you know, we warming up, and you can see the people coming into the stadium, right? And then you go in, and then when you get ready to go back out, you see the people from ESPN. They got the, you know, you're counting it down, and bro, they opened up that door, and we came through the tunnel. I'm getting goosebumps right now. And just the scene, I can't describe it, bro. You coming out and you see the stadium packed. But like I said, I already seen it. So I didn't flip out. I calmed down. I was like, bro, this is what you've been waiting for, right? And they got my dad on the sidelines. You go back and check out the tape. It's pretty impressive, really? Man. They got my father on the sidelines talking before the game and talking about, you know, was it pressure on me? And he was like, no, he'd been ready for this for his whole life. And I had a really good game that game too.
They make a big deal about the A&M versus LSU because you didn't pick A&M, or that would just happen to be a game that was on ESPN that day?
No, it's a rivalry. It was a rivalry, but you got to understand one thing about Texas A&M and LSU. They lose players to each other. Yeah. So that rivalry has been going on, you know, before I got there, and then when I got there, it even more enhanced it. So yeah, you had a lot of big Louisiana guys that went to Texas A&M. And vice versa. So that's where that rivalry comes from.
Yeah, because A&M is how far away from Hempstead?
Shit, I could throw a rock from Hempstead to Texas.
So the fact that you went to LSU was...
Yeah, and then you got to understand a lot too. You know, in high school, doing Texas A&M home games, I'm on the sideline. Yeah, because everybody, you know, saying, you know, he's a lock, he's a shoe-in. Man, I'm a young kid with some, you're going to give me some tickets. My ass going to be on the sideline. You know, I'm bumping elbows with those guys, and it was cool, but I never felt comfortable going to Texas A&M. It just wasn't my style. Wow, wasn't my style at all. All that, you know, you ever seen them when they doing all that stuff, and
Just didn't sit with you.
Yeah, nah, I couldn't see myself. I think to me, Texas A&M wasn't cool. It's too corny for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got any good Shaq stories?
Man, yeah, man. I worked. Me and Shaq, we went to LSU together, and me and Shaq used to work together in the summertime. So I would be driving. We worked for a guy named Richard Gill, and it was a construction company. And I would drive, and Shaq would be sitting over in the seat, sleep. And when he used to rap, and he'd be singing, and he's a really, really a cool dude, man. I mean, what you see on TV is exactly what it is. And we got to a fight back in the day when I was in college. My roommate started a fight in a bar. Me, Shaq, and him cleared the whole bar out, bro. And it was a mega fight. So it was on and pop. And I remember our football team wanted to kill Shaq because he slapped one of our DBs, and he had the whole football team wanted to whoop his ass. So man, they had to call the cops and that. But you gotta understand, when he came to LSU, man, it was they had that basketball team was nasty. There was a guy named, you ever heard of Chris Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, him and Big Stan, and them boys should have won the national championship. That's another team that never should have got beat. So, yeah, LSU was on and popping back in those days.
And Shaq is a Texas boy too.
Yeah,
he's from
I think
San
from San
Antonio.
Antonio.
Yeah,
he sure
so him
is.
going to LSU too was more adding to the A&M
Yeah.
LSU rivalry.
Yeah.
Was it common for somebody to stay all 4 years back then? Because now it's like 2, maybe 3 after a red shirt you get drafted. But it seems like in the time you played, most people stayed the full time.
Yeah,
4 years.
you never. For one thing, it was against the rules.
Oh,
Okay. to leave early. You had to, in football, you got to stay 4 years. And my thing is, right now, I don't understand why. I think all players should stay that 4 years, man, because when you get out here in the real world, when you start playing in the pros, a lot of us are mentally not ready for that. They handed me a check for $2 million, and a lot of kids can't handle that. And you got to be mature to be able to handle that.
Did you know you're going in the first round?
Yeah, I was pissed off that I went the 21st pick, and some things happened between me and my girlfriend that I ended up marrying in college. That end up reason why I ended up dropping from the in the top 5 to the 21st pick. Some things that happened between me and her.
Who did you think was going to take you?
It was supposed to be in Green Bay. They ended up taking somebody else. I think it was the Cardinals, but I know what it was. Green Bay was gonna move up.
Okay.
They supposed to be moving up, and my agent was like, "Bro, it's Green Bay. They gonna move up to get you." And I'm sitting there, and nothing happened. And then you're supposed to be going to top 5, top 6, and bro, it never happened. That was a long day. That was a very long day.
But you knew you were going first round.
After the 5th or 6th, and then they got to 10, then I got nervous. I'm like, then when they got to 12, I started getting diarrhea, and then we got to 15. I'm like, what? I wouldn't took a nap, bro. Cause we had probably 200 people at my parents' house.
Oh, so you watched the draft at your
we
parents'
watching
house?
the draft. We partying. We had a big old draft party the night before. You're gonna go in the top 5.
Man.
And bro, after they got to number 5, I got physically ill. I got sick.
Wow.
And when they got to 10, they got 12. I don't know if you know who Thurman Thomas is.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started feeling like he was, because I saw a couple of years earlier where he's sitting there, and then he's supposed to be going in the first round, and then you go back and you watch Thurman. They got the camera on him, and man, he's asleep in the chair, and the whole world is watching that.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there, and when they got to 15, 16, I told my dad, I'm gonna go take a nap. And I had all these people at the house. And my wife at the time, she was pregnant, and I remember her walking in the room and looking at me, and I remember me looking up out the bed crying, and she's like, "Everything's gonna be all right." And Tony, look, I like dozed off and went to sleep, man, and it was like a second, but it was probably like an hour later.
Mm-hmm.
My dad came and shook. He said, "They talking your name. They saying your name on TV right now." And I'm like, "What?" So I get up, and so I walk in the room, and I got a call from the Raiders. Where's the Raiders at on that? Because I was talking to them, and they like right behind. They should have been right behind Kansas City.
Yeah, number 24.
Yeah, and they said when Kansas City, we're gonna take you, and I said, there's no way Kansas City's gonna take me. But Kansas City coached me in the Senior Bowl, Marty Schottenheimer. And he was like, if you're around, we're gonna take you. Because he coached me in the Senior Bowl. And I'm saying to myself, and this at the Senior Bowl, I'm like, dude, I'll be fucking long gone by the time we get to the 20s. I'll be gone. And I thought about that. I'm like, this dude not gonna take me, man. He's not gonna take me. And the Raiders said, when the Kansas City, we're gonna take you. I'm on the phone with the Raiders. And as soon as I hung the phone up, Marty Schottenheimer called me. And I picked up the phone and said, hello, Harvey, it's Marty Schottenheimer. I was just like, we taking you.
Wow.
Yeah, and I had to play it off. And, thank you, Coach, for taking me. The whole thing that you got to, be humble and I love coming here.
Yeah.
But I felt that small, man.
Really?
Yeah. But I ended up, the rest of that was happy. I, went in the first round. But it wasn't where I thought I was going. And I'm still pissed off and mad that, I didn't go in the top 10, top 5.
Because you knew you should have.
Should have. But like I said, man, being young and stupid. With that thing that happened with between me and my girlfriend at the time, cost me about $3 million.
Wow.
Yeah.